Do 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 do. What's up? Hello. Let me know if you can hear me. You're the first one here. These after show lives, I gotta get better at telling the world about. Um, Second is Lupus Regina. Hello, Lupus Regina. I like your name. Hello, Nightstar. Hello, Antoine. How did everyone like the episode? If you've had time to watch it already, if not, that's okay. You could just be here and chat with me. Um, 13 minutes late is close enough to on time. I like to give people some time, like genuinely, because a lot of the comments are delayed, and I feel like I'm shooting for 10. I think 10 minutes after the show is the after show. It's a good time. I just well, we just jumped from 4 people to 67. That's a hell of a lag. Hello, everyone. But I think that for 10 minutes is a good amount of time to be like finish the episode and then come on, hop in here. Haven't seen the new episode yet, but I'm excited to watch it. Love to see it. It glitches a lot. Yeah, YouTube's fucking me. Watch the video again, not during the premiere if you want, or like just don't watch the premiere if you want. Watch it later, and the audio's fine. I don't know why the last two times when I actually hit 900 fucking people in the live. Thank you, by the way, everyone who came. I don't know why that of all times YouTube's decided to just cut the audio every 10 seconds. It sent me into a panic attack both times. I had to go check my source file and make sure the audio was good. But if it's like last week, it'll be good now. Like it was a live streaming problem. But yeah, so I don't know. Maybe don't come to the premieres. I like when everyone comes to the premieres. I lurk every time. I'm reading all of the comments. But what did you think about Gambit in the finale? I liked him. I really, really liked seeing Gambit. I like what they did with him. He looks bad. He looks dorky as shit. I will say, when I Googled, like, for the thumbnail, Gambit X-Men Evolution, a different design also popped up. So, like, clearly they know that he looks a little too dorky. However, I really like his presentation. I like him being a villain. Not a very normal spot for him to be, honestly. Like, he's always like talked about as if he was a villain. But in most of his publication history, he's been a good guy. I like a lot of it. He looks like a teen. The other thing I know about the show is everyone's big critique is that he's creepy because he's a full-grown adult and Rogue's a teenager. By the context of this finale, that is not clear, and he looks to be her age. Like, he looks small, and I think that's good enough for me. So far, we're passing all the checks. I'm not so blinded by my love for this character that if they reveal he's like 30 or something, I'm going to hand wave it. But right now, they've not said that. And so I'm living La Vida Loco. Remy's like 19. 19's also not that bad, to be fully honest. I don't know how old Rogue's supposed to be, but surely like a senior. Where'd you get your Gambit jacket? A fan sent it to me, honestly. I used to have an Amazon wish list back when I was just starting out TikTok, and that was something someone got for me. But yeah. Need more ways to make Toad look uber cool. Truly. I laughed at Rogue being smitten to the point where she essentially held onto a live grenade. Yeah, I think that's like a really good showing of Gambit and Rogue. I think that initial meeting, the fact also, Gambit does not speak in this episode and is still bias removed. Like, I know I'm a little biased, but I would say he's still the coolest one in the show of the Brotherhood. Pyro, despite having one of the cooler powers, I feel like has never got the aura to match with it. He's definitely the bottom tier of the Brotherhood. Sabretooth, Flip, has the worst powers, but the most aura, even in this version. So he's like second lowest, and then Colossus is Colossus, and then Gambit is Gambit. It's also a great showing for Gambit because he's supposed to be very charismatic and charming. Exactly. Like, the fact that he woos Rogue that easily without saying a word is so good. And I feel like it's not like rude to Rogue, you know, like it's not like, oh, Rogue's dumb because she held out, she was smitten. It's like, I get it, he's cool, he's charming, I'd be smitten too. Calling Pyro bottom is certainly true. Do you think Pyro's the bottom of that? I know the answer to this, but what are the odds we ever actually see Avalanche and Pyro interact in this fucking show? Of all of the like vaguely, not vaguely, but like overtly, the opposite of vaguely, the heavily implied gay relationships in Claremont comics. I feel like Pyro and Avalanche are the most overlooked. Like, everyone got Destiny and Mystique. Most people get Juggernaut and Black Tom. I feel like people forget about Pyro and Avalanche to the point that I would not be surprised if this show didn't address it at all. Like, this show got Rogue or got Mystique and Destiny, you know? And they didn't even bother putting Black Tom in. But we finally have an adaptation that has Avalanche and Pyro together. Will they ever speak? I highly doubt it. Almost all community would be smitten for Gambit. Let's be honest. This is this is the glory of building an echo chamber for yourself on the internet. It reminds me of, I went to San Diego Comic-Con, I think 2 years ago now, and they were launching the new X-Men period, like era. And I asked Gail Simone a question in front of the whole panel. She was writing Uncanny X-Men. It had just been announced. It was going to be set in New Orleans. Gambit was going to be on the team. I went up and I asked, okay, so does this mean we'll get to see the Thieves and Assassins Guilds? Crickets. No one. I thought people in the crowd were going to be so hype about that question. Nobody cared. Gail, deadpan. No, not interested in those. I walk back to my seat sheepishly. And this is because if I had asked that question on an interview or something for this audience, people would have cared. You met Gail Simone. I did meet Gail Simone. Actually, Gail Simone also, by the way, lovely woman. Afterward, we took a picture. Me and my partner were cosplaying Gambit and Rogue, and we took a picture. She asked to take a picture with us, and it was wonderful. But yes. How much of the series do you remember? The only thing I really remember past this point is the very last thing in the series in Spike's plotline. I'm going to be fucking for real. I don't think I've seen all of this show. I watched it. It came out the year I was born. Okay, so that's like one thing to know. After that, I watched it in syndication on TV. I thought it was the same show as Wolverine and the X-Men, and I was just popping around the seasons. That was not the case. I remember a lot more of Wolverine and the X-Men, weirdly. Now, I remember Laura showing up. And I remember, so I have to have seen something else. And I remember Boom Boom, because I liked Boom Boom even as a kid. But I don't think I've seen all these episodes. I think I would remember some of these fucking things. So this has been a real different series than I expected. Because I knew the first season pretty well. Season 2, blown me out of the water. I was like, have I watched this? Have I ever actually seen this shit in my life? I spot a pattern of you liking the exploded characters. Thank you. I take that as a compliment. I'm finally reading the Claremont run thanks to you. Good. Everyone do that. It's so good. Chris Claremont, technically, let's see if that's still true. Actually, before I say this, let me see if this is still true. Claremont. Sorry, this is now taking so much time. Yes, I am one of the 50 people that Chris Claremont follows on Instagram. I've met him in person since that point. He had no idea who I was. So I don't know who runs his Instagram, but thank you for following me. I did think that he would like kind of know me when we met, but he truly did not. He has commented on one post I ever made. And of all of the things I post on Instagram, the one he commented on was me going to the Golden Trailer Awards. And he said something along the lines of, I didn't know they gave a whole award show for Michael Golden, the co-creator of Rogue. Thank you, Chris. Please react to Wolverine and the X-Men. It's my favorite same X-Men show. It sucks that it was canceled. I am going to be doing that probably in a month-ish. We're coming up on the end of Evolution here. We are a little past halfway. I'm going to react to the rest of Evolution, and then we'll do Wolverine and the X-Men. I met Claremont in person once, and I said, thanks for Rogue. She's my favorite character. And then Chris said that she had terrible taste in men. This is Chris Claremont Story Hour. So I have this cover, right? And I have it signed by Michael Golden alongside Rogue. I need to get it signed by Jim Lee alongside Gambit. But Chris Claremont signed it across the top, right? And when I got him to do this, his response was, you know what she's whispering, or you know what he's whispering to her in this scene? You're one of many, Cher. I don't get the sense that he's a big fan of the Gambit and Rogue relationship. It is notably not a thing he did. If he doesn't write, he created Gambit, but he doesn't write him for super long before getting pushed off the book. And Gambit's main relationship, not like romantic, but his main person he knows on the team is Storm. And in the first 3 issues of X-Men, like the 1991 book where Rogue and what this book is, where Rogue and Gambit are on the same team, they don't really talk. It's not until issue 4, when Chris Claremont leaves the book, that you get the basketball scene where he like wins the date, and they've been together ever since. But it's not really, it's not a Chris original, and I don't get the sense he loves it. Also, please do longer reactions. These videos are too short. They're 30 minutes long. I can't make longer videos, guys. The editing for this alone kills me. It like actually murders me. I'm such a slow editor, but each one of these videos takes me like 3 days to get done. And I'm just, I gotta move faster. I was hoping to still get video essays out alongside the reactions, but I'm just not, because I'm spending all my time editing the reactions. So, maybe if I'm ever rich enough to hire an editor, we can go to longer videos. Maybe. But also, I don't know if I have that much to say, to be fully honest. I feel like you're getting all of the good stuff. Not up my Gambit timeline. Did Claremont make the decision to drop the whole Gambit and Sinister being figments of a boy's imagination, or was that another writer? I think it's Claremont as well. Like, it's just, that's one of those things that was allegedly Claremont's first idea. So it's not so much dropped as if he just doesn't do it. And then he leaves the book and they still don't do it. But it's not like that was ever like happening. It just wasn't happening, if that makes sense. I love your videos, Nikhil. Thank you. Other than Wolverine, no, interestingly, back to the Gambit thing. Chris has also said that his idea for Gambit was that he was going to like corrupt Kitty Pryde and start dating Kitty Pryde. I'm so happy that fucking didn't happen. I love Gambit. He's my favorite character, and I love your Gambit vids. Thank you. You can stream video essays. Oh, I'm not that smart. I need to write the video essays. Given that Rogue was in a love triangle with Cyclops earlier, how funny would it be if the writers made Gambit Scott's third brother in the show? That would be top tier joke, but I bet they won't, because I think even when this show was coming out, we didn't know what Gambit's deal was. That's the thing with the animated series. The reason Gambit's involved in the Days of Future Past in the animated series is because while the books were coming out, they kept being like, something's up with Gambit, but you don't know what. And then the show gave an answer before the books did. Will you be doing any more of the Rejects episodes? Again, in theory, yes. I used to post one like normal video a month, and my dream was that I would be able to post all 8 reaction videos and one normal video a month, just so I could like have more stuff, you know, because I didn't like only posting 12 times in a year. But the thing is, the reaction videos are taking up a lot of time. So again, we will see. I was hoping to have a lot of content out right now. My dream is to post 4 times a week. I would like to have 2 reactions go up, one like compilation, and one video essay or other thing up every week. That is going to require some more people helping me, I think. And right now I'm by myself. But you know, we do what we do. Guess you need an editor. I do. My issue with letting people, like someone asked if they could edit for free. My issue is more like, I don't want people to edit for free. I would like to be able to pay a good rate, and a rate that's deserved, churning out 16 episodes a month. Like, that's a big turnaround. What would you want to see out of like a brand new X-Men animated series? X-Men 97 knocked it out of the park. I think that's exactly what I want to see. Who is your favorite X-Men character? Like someone that fans know but never talk about. I mean, Gambit is my favorite X-Men character. Underrated was Magic, but now Marvel Rivals has her on Spotlight as well. What was your take on Wanda squishing Magneto? I will say I've already filmed the episode for Monday, so for Patreon. So I've seen the first 2 episodes of season 3. So I know what is the twist with Wanda squishing Magneto. But in the moment, I thought that his ass was gone. I'm not gonna lie. I thought that was how they were writing out Magneto for the show. Because like, how many times can you bring him back? Yeah, eventually you got to do Apocalypse. You teased him earlier. How did you react to the Jadosha episode X-97? I was devastated. That was I knew something bad was going to happen because I woke up to real life people texting me and asking me if I was okay. And I was like, that's never a good sign. But even then, while watching the show, I was like, there's no way they kill Gambit. It's Gambit. Who kills Gambit? They do. What do you think of the Krakoan era? Some of the best comics of the modern age, man. I want to see Belladonna in a show and see that romance with Gambit. I would like to see Belladonna done correctly as well. Belladonna is a character I do really like, even though she's like kind of terrible. Like as a character, she's just like there's no consistency at all to Belladonna, but the concept of her is very interesting. I feel like Magic was starting to take some spotlight a bit before Rivals came out. From what I had been seeing, she was at least on some level as her brother. I would not put that. I think Colossus is much more famous than Magic, or at least again pre-Rivals. Magic has always had the look, the outfit, and the giant sword help her become more known than most other people. But anything about her, I think, has been completely unknown until recently. Would you react to the second season of X-27? Probably not. Here's the issue, guys. I watch a lot of these shows with my partner. I had to find a show that me and my partner were not going to watch together. And even then, we planned to watch this together at some point, but I was like, I got to watch X-Men Evolution. They were a big fan of 97. We're probably going to watch 97 together. And I know I don't see it in the comments, but I'm sure someone's going to say, why don't we just film both of our reactions? But I don't want to. I want to just watch it like over dinner. So I might do breakdowns. I did a trailer breakdown for the first season, but now that I'm much more into YouTube, I might do episode breakdowns. We'll have to see my schedule at the time. Also, the other thing with 97 is like, I don't know if it's going to be good. They fired the old guy. Who knows what we're getting in the second season now? If it sucks, I'm going to be a little upset, and I don't know if I need that energy in the air. Do you think Gambit's going to come back as a Horseman of Apocalypse? Yes. They like directly teased he would at the end of season 1. The only thing that gives me any pause, The only thing that gives me any pause about that is the fact that they like again fired the showrunner and apparently tore up the original plan for season 2, which would have included that. So who knows if the new plan has it as well or if it's gone? I don't know. Who's a random X-Men you'd want to see in X-27? Because I'd love to see Armor. Armor would slap. Leech was in it, which is crazy. Usually my answer when Gambit's not like uncleared off is Leech, and Leech is like a major role in 97. Who else would I? The Starjammers, I think, would be very fun to see in 97. Do you think the original 1990s run of Gambit comics? I do. Do you own? I own most of them. I don't know if I own them all. How were you most excited to see? All right, so who were you most excited to see in the finale? Gambit. What's a show you watched back when you're willing to rewatch? Wolverine and the X-Men, I think, will be my last rewatch for a while because there are shows I've never seen that I would like to do. Teen Titans is going to be new for me. I've never seen Teen Titans. After that, I want to do the animes, Wolverine and X-Men animes. I think that'd be fun. Never seen either of those. Batman Beyond, I've only seen like certain episodes of. Stuff like that. Like there's a lot of shows. Clone Wars, I've never seen, leaving the superhero mold for a second. I did bat around doing Glee, and I have seen Glee, but that would be a big departure. So we would see how things go. Do you like D&D? Yes, I do. I'd said the Starjammers don't get much play. I feel like the Guardians of the Galaxy are still in their niche. Oh, they definitely did. The Guardians of the Galaxy, as good of a like team and movie it is, they're just the Starjammers, and it does kind of bug me. Are there any Marvel teams or characters that you think would make for a good show but don't have one? I think the non-X-Men teams, X-Force, New Mutants, X-Factor, like anything like that, I think would make for a wonderful show. What's your DC base? Actually, I've seen you do a few Batman movies, but not heard you talk about DC as much. I don't have much of one. I know Batman. Like I've read the Batman like core stuff. Batman, Long Halloween, Year One, that kind of shit. I like Batman comics in general. I've not read a ton of DC though, guys. I'm a very big Marvel boy. I've not even read that much outside of X-Men. Like X-Men kind of takes over your entire reading ability. There's so many books. Yeah, no, I DC Teen Titans. I know nothing about Teen Titans. Here's Judah's contract. Here's Judah's contract. I'm gonna read this before I watch the show, but don't expect the same amount of me being like, this is what happened in this version because I won't be able to do that for DC. And I don't know if that's going to be a huge detraction. If people don't like it, I'll go back to doing rewatches and like mainly stick to the stuff I can add the comic perception to. But I'm hoping doing Wolverine and the X-Men at the same time will give people enough of both vibes. Did you see the new Wonder Man teaser? I did not. Did you ever watch Spectacular Spider-Man? I watched the first like 4 episodes. Honestly, it wasn't for me, but I was also a child. So, X Factor investigation show. I've never read XFI. I've read X Factor, like the old one that had the original cast. I loved that. And then I read when it becomes Multiple Man, Quicksilver, and Monet. Not Monet. She's not there yet. But like Rain, Polaris. I read that opening salvo as well of the original run. I think I stopped around the time it was about to become X-Statix. No, X-Force becomes Ecstatics, doesn't it? I don't know. Yes, X-Force becomes Ecstatics. But point is, I've never read XFI. The early 2000s are a big blind spot for me across the board. You get Phoenix to Wolverine cartoon, but everyone is adults, so the love triangle comes into play. Oh, no. Rogue's a child in Wolverine and the X-Men. I remember that. That's like the movie Rogue relationship. Evolution has its own comic, apparently. Only the last chapter felt like part of the show. I'll have to read that eventually when I finish this. You never read X Factor Investigations right after House of M? Nope. Have you seen the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. show? All but like the last season. I think I stopped when they started time traveling. Have you seen Hazbin Hotel? Yes, I have seen Hazbin Hotel. I like Hazbin Hotel. That's like becoming a hot take these days on the internet. I thought it was good. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the music. I do think the music is the best part. I think the plot kind of is weak, but it's carried by the music. People don't like the music. Those people don't understand show tunes. Would you watch Ben 10? I've never seen all of Ben 10 either. I guess no, I just picked up random episodes of. Do you fuck with Exiles? I do fuck with Exiles. Any recommendations for good places for some magic? I enjoy the character Midnight Suns game, but don't know enough about it to look for more content. I will tell you, magic, it's kind of hardcore. It's kind of hardcore, but Magic has some of the best, one of the best comic series of all time, in my opinion, is this one right here. Storm and Ileana, Magic, numbers 1 through 4. It's sort of her origin story. It's pretty heavy in terms of like a superhero comic. Like, don't think you're reading like Spider-Man, you know? There's like abuse, sexual abuse, children endangerment. It's pretty serious stuff, but it's some of the best comics ever done, in my opinion. Hazbin Hotel music goes hard, especially if you're not allowed to watch the actual show like me. I cannot imagine being a child right now in this world. That's insane. Have you read the Teen Titans X-Men crossover? Yes, that I have read. Have you read some of the old David Cockrum comics? I've read some Cockrum. I don't know which ones you're talking about, though. You'd love Ben 10. I think I would. I remember, I was a fan of Ben 10, like in the way that like it used to be okay to just be a casual fan of things. It wasn't until I became an influencer that I had to start like rescinding things I said I was a fan of because I did not have an encyclopedic knowledge of said things. Like Star Wars. I was claimed to be a huge Star Wars head, and then I would talk to some people and I'd be like, oh, we are not on the same level. You are a much bigger fan than I. Out of all adult cartoons, I feel like Hazbin's the one I probably let my kids watch. I see nothing wrong with Hazbin. Like, yes, there's the cursing, but like they curse like children. They don't curse like adults. Like, I feel like I've been cursing since first grade. I think it's fine. Have you read Generation X? I'm reading Generation X right now because on Patreon, I want to react to the Generation X movie. And I've been dragging my feet, and I'm so sorry to my patrons. People keep subscribing, and I love you all. You have to know that. How do you feel about Jubilee and Tim Drake having dated? I thought they were cute. The era of superhero cartoons before the big boom of superhero movies is so fascinating. It truly is. Even X-Men Evolution, like I guess I've started the first few episodes of season 3. You can tell the movie's influence growing. There's like some sequence of Wolverine and Rogue both wearing huge trench coats and dressed in all black and escaping from armed guards on a motorcycle. And I'm like, we're in the movies now. We've gone from X-Men High School AU. The movies blew up in a way they clearly weren't expecting. And now we're in the movies. Do you ever watch Avengers Earth Mightiest Heroes? Yes. Again, I don't know if I ever finished it because I think as a kid, I watched what was available to me and then assumed the show had ended and went about my life and didn't check in back in like a year. But I used to watch it with the Marvel Encyclopedia open and I would just like look for every single character they mentioned. It's actually some of my favorite childhood memories is watching Avengers Earth Mightiest Heroes. The new Cerebro is definitely an indicator. They glue up Cerebro as fast as they could. I put on the review on the main TV and it had a grip on my mom. What review? Have you watched My Adventures with Superman? I've watched the first season. There's a second season now, right? I loved watching it before class when Netflix was still relatively new. Yeah. What's the other thing? X-Men Evolution used to be on Netflix, and I think it was just the first season. I think I thought this was a one-season show, and that's why I knew season 1 so much better. Have you ever seen Marvel Superhero Squad? Yes, I have. I like that show too. I watched that one in like middle school, and I felt like I was too old for it, which in hindsight seems kind of silly, but I did like it a lot. Look how much time it took for Berserker to be name dropped to save your sanity. It takes them so long to say any of their goddamn names. It truly annoys the crap out of me. Like, I'm pretty sure they don't actually even say Jubilee until season 3. I've now seen them say it once, and it's while, spoiler alert, she was leaving the fucking school. They didn't say Rain until the wolf, to the fucking Beast episode about Bigfoot. Actually, let me see if since I've watched them all so recently, let me see if I can name drop every time they said their names. I still don't think anyone said Sunspot. They probably have said Roberto in the Bigfoot episode. Rain is name dropped in the Bigfoot episode. Beyond Wolfsbane is name dropped when Iceman is trying to she's helping Iceman study as a wolf. Drake is said in the very first episode of season 2. I don't know when the first time Bobby is said is. Iceman is said, I think, in the very first episode of season 2. Berserker comes like halfway in through the season in that random Danger Room fight. Is that all of them? I feel like I'm missing someone. Multiple is said in the Danger Room fight as well. Oh, she was helping Multiple study. You're right. When do they say Amara's name? They say Amara's name in the Girl Power episode because she's like a real character. I did forget about Magma yet again. But yes, Amara, they say a lot. Would you be interested in watching DC shows you missed, like Justice League Action or something like that? Again, everything's on the table. I feel like eventually, not to be sacrilegious, in like a year or so, I'd like to move out of just explicitly superhero shows. However, everything is on the table. They said Ronnie, not Rain. This is true. That is very true. It's weird to see the era where the production just didn't feel like characters' names needed to be said since they were only side characters and the writers already had their names in the script. Yeah. I mean, it really is just like, even from a toy perspective, why would you not want to just have them go around and say their names? Especially Jubilee was so popular. Also, Berserker in general is such a wild pull to place alongside the New Mutants as just a regular mutant teen. I think, if I had to guess, the entire young class comes from them wanting certain powers. Like they wanted people who could shoot different kinds of beams so that it would look visually interesting, but also be basically the same. And I think you got an ice guy, a fire person, and an electricity person for that. And then I think Multiple is for the gag in the opening episode. I think Beto is for the gag. And I think Wolfsbane is for the gag. And I think I'm still missing someone. Oh, Boom Boom is the only one they had like an idea of a specific character they wanted to do, because she's the one who has an arc and she's the one who goes to the Brotherhood and she's the one most like her actual comic self. I'm still amazed Iceman wasn't in the first lineup since he was an original. To be fair, the only original X-Men in the first lineup are Scott and Jean. Beast and Angel are weird old men, and Iceman is a child. Something copyright? No, they have all the rights for animation. That's what's funny. Just finished the video. Glad you're liking this show. It was my first X-Men growing up, and I love it. I'm liking it a lot more than I honestly expected. I think I've said this before, but like, I thought when I started this show, and you could kind of tell in that very first reaction video, I thought it was going to be rewatching as a comic fan, pulling it apart. And it's truly a bold departure from the comics, but it's such a genuinely good show that I've become distracted by that and now fully invested. Mute multiple is also a kind of good, well, mute mousing it crazy thing to throw in. Absolutely. It's strangely written well. They did like the X-Men. Yes. Well, you can tell they're X-Men fans, which is the other really funny part of it. Like, they're doing an AU on purpose. Didn't know so many things came from the show. Yeah, genuinely a lot. Like, we were just talking about how a lot of the show is now taken from the movies, but a lot of stuff comes from the show. X-23, most famously, is from this show. Wanda being this kind of traumatized individual and like out of control of her powers in the madhouse, that's all from this show. What else is from the show? I thought of so many while I was watching it. Did Boom wait a week before going to warn them about Mystique? No. Hex Factor is the episode right before the finale. So she leaves immediately and I assumingly goes and tells them the next day. And then just that's already they're about to blow up. Because she leaves, they go to the mall. The next morning, they become a group together. Amara shows up and the mansion blows up. Like, I think it's supposed to be a weekend. Oh, yeah, Nightcrawler's Brimstone's Dimensions from the show. Thank you. Go shout. I think it's something they took the Scarlet Witch and made her powers blue. They've not said Scarlet Witch yet, to be fair. Quicksilver has said, like, she's like some kind of witch, I think. I don't believe that anyone's actually said you are the Scarlet Witch. I never saw the show as a kid, and I was so distracted with some of the voices because I was recognizing them from anime. Like, Xavier is the dad from Arcane and Rama. I know Quicksilver is apparently a character. I'm bad at anime. But he's a big popular character in anime. And every time I post a clip that has Quicksilver talking, everyone's like, what? I wonder how Polaris would have fit in Evolution. I feel like she's going to show up. Whom is the mutant character you would stick up for that no one else cares about? Gambit. Leech, also. Like, a lot of them. I like a lot of the weird ones. If you're like a weird little boy, I think you're a fun dude. Mamomax, love him. Toad said Scarlet Witch was their secret weapon. Okay, see, you know what? Shows what I know. Why do you like Leech other than Weird Little Boy? A lot of it's Weird Little Boy. Like, I think Leech and Artie are just very fun little characters. It all comes from that original X Factor run, really. Like, they're like the little kids tagging around with the original X-Men, and I think they're lovable and very cute. But Leech specifically, I think is very interesting that he's a Morlock that even the Morlocks hate. Like, no one likes Leech. He's a little sewer mutant, literally, who was exiled by the other sewer mutants. He has to essentially beg a woman to be nice to him and act as his mother, as his like foster mother. But the Power Pack has to basically be like, hey, can you just be nice to this little kid because he seems to think of you like his mom? That woman then gets brutally murdered in front of him. And he goes, he's been raised by the Morlocks. He was with X Factor. He's at Generation X being trained by Emma. He goes to the Future Foundation and is trained by the Fantastic Four. He's such an integral part of so much of Marvel's history as just this cute little dude. And I think if I could write anything, I would like to write a more grown-up Leech. Like, he should be like a teen by now anyway. And I think it'd be interesting to explore the mentality of like 15-year-old Leech. Make the mutants that don't. Also, like the idea that your mutant power is robbing everyone else of their mutant power is inherently tragic as well. I watched the show a lot as a kid, but never for the full episode because the regional program would cut out. Thanks, Brazil. I have heard that it was apparently huge in Brazil. Is that true? Every one of my like Brazilian friends or fans, not to get parasocial with y'all, but every one of my Brazilian fans tells me it was a huge thing in Brazil. We stand Beak in this family. I love Beak. I like Basilisk too. I'm a big Basilisk head from that run. I still have to forgive Kiddo me. I thought Jubilee was the original and Boom Boom was the edgy copycat on X-Force. I blame the 90s series. I made a video TikTok years ago alleging that Boom Boom was like a ripoff new kid of Gambit. Totally wrong. She premiered like 20 years before. Sorry, no leech time. We have a null now. I was a little peeved. I know the guys who wrote NYX, and I even like told them, I was like, I'm a little peeved that you did this amazing Morlock story with a null and not leech. Like that is the exact kind of story I would have loved to see with leech, but a null got it instead. This thing was huge down here. It was my first kind of X-Men. That's why I'm reading the comics. Awesome. Whom from DC would most likely specifically be mutants if they were in Marvel? Any of the unexplained metahumans, I guess. I know it's standard X-Men fare, but I do find it really funny how the news people in the episode are questioning the mutants and not the giant death robot. Yeah, I mean, this is kind of the thing with the X-Men always, is like you do have to sort of give them some slack because the way the humans treat them is inherently frustrating because it doesn't make sense. They're always kind of like, seems like it's your fault that the Sentinel wanted to kill you, but it is like representative of genuine prejudice. Like we're seeing this right now in the real world, you know? Like, oh, well, how come, ICE wanted to track you down so bad? You should have just complied. Like, that's the same shit. It just equally doesn't make sense. Have you read Storm 2024? The first, 10 issues. The Sentinels in Marvel always feel like a really weird part of the universe that the government has giant death robots on standby. To be fair, for most of publication, including in this show, actually, it's not the government. It's a fringe individual. Who's running the Sentinels. The government gets them in the late 90s, I think, for real. And then it becomes the government all the time. What's your favorite team of kids? Like New Mutants, Generation X? Oh, New Mutants. The original New Mutants. You can't beat them. You can't beat them. Generation X has been fun, though. I do like them. You can't beat the OG New Mutants. The Sentinels are why I think Marvel's separated the X-Men from the rest of the superheroes. How can Cap possibly abide by true death robots? I mean, I disagree. I think the mutants only work if they're in the context of a wider universe, because otherwise you get that argument that does make sense of like, oh, of course they're afraid of mutants. Mutants have powers. They don't. That's an inherent difference that doesn't map onto any real oppression. The fact that people don't mind the Hulk but do mind a null is the oppression. That is the prejudice. That is the thing that makes the metaphor work. And when you rob it of that, you make the metaphor weaker and the message weaker. But Hulk is a weird example, but yes. I mean, but the people do like the Hulk. It comes and goes depending if he's a villain or an Avenger or not. But the Hulk is a celebrated figure in a lot of Marvel comics. But do you have any intention of obtaining Marvel cards or Magics? No, I don't play Magic. But that's the point, The Hulk can serve on the Avengers. A Null gets jumped outside of a bar. Yeah. But I think, yes, it makes it weirder for all of the other characters that they don't seem to care. But it's no different to me than well, why doesn't Cap care about... It's actually, that's a very good point. Saying why does Cap not care about the Sentinels is like asking why Rogue doesn't care about Nazis because she's not constantly fighting Hydra. That's not what they're saying. It's just a different book, all of the X-Men aren't pro-Nazi because they don't dedicate all their time to Hydra. All of the other Avengers aren't pro-mutant oppression because they don't dedicate all their time to Sentinels. It's just at a certain point, if Cap was going to save the day every single time, it wouldn't be an X-Men book. It'd be a Captain America book. Why doesn't Superman stop all of Batman's villains? Exactly. Do you have a specific gamma casting you want to see in the main universe? Yes, but we are kind of running out of time. The man's getting up there in age. Lakeith Stanfield, put him in. To be fair, they also do mind Spider-Man to the point that they tried to label him as a mutant to give him a bad rep, which actually proves the mutant metaphor, in my opinion. Agreed. I think you would have liked Generation Rex. I have heard of Generation Rex. The Sentinels do have the issue of actively trying to genocide them, and they just write Cap to be very passive when it's brought up. Again, they don't. This is just something I personally feel. Like, you can argue that Cap is not in X-Men books enough, but specifically him, I think it's very funny that he's the one people point to, because he's the one who led 2 entire teams. There's 2 different runs about him trying to lead mutant teams to show mutant solidarity. He's the biggest ally of the other characters. We could talk about Iron Man. Iron Man got read for filth, actually, in an X-Men book by Emma Frost for not caring about Sentinels. And then the Sentinels started to look like him. But Cap specifically is the most mutant ally of all of the normal characters. The Cap criticism mainly from AVX, which did a lot of damage to the Adventures for X-Men Eyes fans. I think I agree. It all comes from AVX and like X-Men 97. And X-Men 97 wrote him weird. I won't deny that, but it's also not a comic book. Honestly, I think that it was Evolution that started my lifelong favoritism for Nightcrawler, which isn't ending anytime soon. Love to see it. But like Captain America in Secret Wars, 1980s, way back in the day. 1982, I think, like their first big Marvel crossover, stops the heroes from attacking Magneto, because the whole thing is they get put into hero and villain camps, and Magneto's like with the heroes for some reason. And Cap is like, hey, Magneto's a mutant. You don't understand how difficult his life might have been. Like, he's so pro mutants, it's insane. I really don't. Nothing shows me more that people are like taking random facts from the internet than the Cap hate. The Nightcrawler design and evolution is just so good. It is. It's fantastic. It is cool if you could watch X-Men the anime. That's what I plan to do soon. It's going to go over in the X-Men and then X-Men the anime. My favorite career mutant other than Morgan Red, the best, obviously. Love me some Morgan Red. Are Tony and Emma divorced now? Yes, they are, sadly. I wish that had become like the trope where they actually fell in love, but they just didn't, and so they just got divorced when they stopped pretending. Pro Magneto Cap, Magneto apologist Cap, that's the best thing I've ever heard. Exactly! Whenever Magneto is introduced, would you want him as a villain or close to whatever he is now in the comics? What he is now. I think the optics of the world and the rhetoric of the time have proven that Magneto can no longer just be a villain. Like, at most, he can be what Killmonger was to Black Panther. That's like at the most evil you can get at this point with him. I think otherwise, we've come too far for him to still be seen as a pure villain. Magneto trying to hit Cap with a wokeness machine, but he already woke enough. Shout out woke Steve. Indeed. I will say there are genuine instances of Cap and the Avengers showing me the conclusion with the X-Men, but Cap is like usually the first guy to think maybe we should stop this. Again, what it is Avengers versus X-Men. It's like, that's the one where, yes, there is no defense. I'm not going to sit here and say that Cap is pro X-Men in Avengers versus X-Men, but it's also the name of the book. Like, it was going to be a contrived out of character thing anyway, because those 2 teams weren't going to fight each other. I think everyone's out of character in that show. What people don't realize is like a lot of Avengers fans complain about Avengers versus X-Men writing the Avengers out of character, so they hate and are like bigoted or whatever. The X-Men are also written out of character. No one's done well in that book. It's a ridiculous premise. Do you think Tony C. Steve is that one friend that's too woke? In the comics, I don't know. In the movies, that's definitely the vibe, I think. Magneto runs into the Poison Ivy problem from Batman. She increasingly has a point. Yeah, I would put Poison Ivy on a similar level. Like, it's hard to do Poison Ivy now because she just kind of was, right? And it matters how like evil you want to get with it. Like the thing with Magneto, you could always do, and they've done in the comics as well. Like New X-Men in the early 2000s was like the last real big evil Magneto story, and it's more recent than you would think. But you got to dial up the evil a lot, because if it's just the vague rhetoric, it sounds good. So like New X-Men has him basically becoming a Nazi. Wild take. I think it kind of works in the context of that one book, but that's a bigger issue. But like that's the level of evil you have to get. Same thing with Poison Ivy has to be kill all of humanity so plants can roam. Because if it's just fight for the plants, yeah, she's like right though. So you can either dial up all the evil all the way or put them in the more morally gray anti-hero space. And I think they both work better in the anti-hero space. And they retconned New X-Men, so it wasn't really him. That is the other thing, yes. Because they got too evil. It is hard to have Magneto be around again and have any ounce of sympathy at all if he's going to be, running concentration camps. So now that was Zorn. Do you think the new X-Men's narrative of bigotry will evolve with the new generations of comics and be focused on other things? I think, and I mentioned this actually, I get on my soapbox a little bit in the next, in the early episodes of season 3 that will be out on Patreon next week. But I think the X-Men are at their best when they're not trying to one-for-one any sort of oppression. There is a very common myth that they were meant to represent the 60s civil rights civil rights movement. That is not the case. They were at best a metaphor for being Jewish in New York. But originally, like Stan's original vision. But I think where they really succeed is emulating things that people in oppressed groups can relate to. Like the closeted thing is something gay people can relate to. The thing about there's a lot of stuff that disability people can relate to, or disabled people can relate to. Like the things where you see that, and as someone who's been through something like that, you could be like, I see myself in this world as a mutant. That's relatable to me. Not that it's an allegory per se, if that makes sense. I think that's where they should always be. So they take aspects of every form of oppression. A character can be villainous but not evil. It is easier to write a character that has a plan that must be stopped if they are also actually evil. Agreed. Is there a character you don't understand why people like them? For me, it's Kitty Pryde. I just can't seem to care about her as much as everyone else. I love Kitty Pryde. I think Kitty Pryde is like, she's a little difficult if you're getting into X-Men now or like don't care about like, the historical implications, which is totally valid, to be fair. Like not everyone needs to care about the historical significance of comic characters. But I think her being the sort of first ever kid on the X-Men is important and is fun. And it's hard to like get into her as like, there have been so many. Like if you're more of a Jubilee or an Armor or a Quentin Quire fan, then obviously Kitty's not going to always have the juice. But the fact that she's the first is very important to me. In the new episode, you showed some trepidation on the pairing of Kitty Colossus. I'm not super familiar with that comic relationship. Is it just the initial age gap that concerns you? Yes. Is it not? What's weird is like the initial, like the actual comics where they have the age gap aren't even that bad because Colossus is almost always like you're a child. It's everything after that where they have to reckon with the fact that that was part of the lore that gets really, really weird and gross. And Colossus is like very possessive of her. There's a lot of like, I was 14. Like I would rather if we just don't have it at all. Colossus like 17 when he first meets Kitty, by the way. Yes, but Kitty is 12. I don't think that's there's no real defense here. The reason it happens is because one, it was the 70s, and two, Colossus was the kid on the X-Men first. Like he's not a kid, but he's like the young one they all call little brother and stuff like that. So it makes sense you introduce a new kid who's a girl, you put them together. Now, the issue is Colossus is definitely at least 18 because he's like drinking in bars and shit. So he's like 19 years old. I think they start dating when he's 19 and she's just turned 14. She has her 14th birthday on page. And that's not good by any means. It is it's like a college freshman dating a high school freshman, which if I saw in real life, I would be like, that's gross. But it's also not unheard of. Like, it's not like he's like 30, which is what I think a lot of people assume it was. He can drink at bars at 18 back in the day, man. It was 1940. That's when they started dating. So my comment about her being 12 was when someone said he met her at 17. And if for that to work out math-wise, it would be 17 and 12. Also, aging in comics is super weird in general. Well, that's the other thing. Like, Kitty's dating Bobby at this point. And he was in college while all of this was happening, and Kitty was 12. everyone just kind of reaches the same vague 20 something and then stays there for the rest of time. It wouldn't be a Western comic book if there wasn't a weird age gap storyline. Like, Colossus is not the worst example you can pull from. Not by a long shot. There are so many. Even Reed and Sue. Aren't they supposed to have a really weird age dynamic too? I don't know. I don't remember this one off the top of my head, but I'm pretty sure there's something about like him being her professor or something. Nobody's ever aged at a consistent pace in comics. If anyone's aged 2 years, then say about a time Outdated Show aged like 5. Well, yeah, I mean, you look at like Franklin's. A lot of the early X-Men books have Leech, Artie, and Franklin running around together, hanging out as like little kids. Franklin's like 16 now. Where are Artie and Leech? I feel like they're still 10. I think Sue was like 12 and Reed was a college student. See? There's a lot of bad ones. Honestly, Colossus is not even the only weird relationship age-wise between Kitty and Rasputin. Magic I don't think is weird. Like, she grew up in a different dimension, but she grew up. It's not like she like got magically aged or something. Like, she lived that experience. She is 16 years of like maturity. Put my boy Miles in college. Truly. Apparently, Sue was 13 when they met. I'm a little worried about Gambit times Rogue because I always thought Gambit was a full-on adult. I will say, again, I've started watching the beginnings of season 3. He looks more like an adult. And yes, I've given up on trying to hide that over the course of those live. Earlier I said I Googled it. That's true too. I did have to Google it for the thumbnail, but I've also just pre-filmed the first 2 episodes of for next week. But yes, I've seen the new Gambit design, and he looks a lot more like an adult. And this one, the one that I reacted to for the finale, that this is an official after show of, in that headspace, he looks like a teen, and he is, they never say that he's not a teen, but he definitely looks like more like an adult in the new design. P Wisdom, I'll never forget how weird you and Kitty were. To be fair to that one, that is only weird because the person who was writing it didn't know that Kitty wasn't an adult because she'd been around since 1975 or whatever, and thought that she had, become 20 at some point, and that just was not the case. Yes, let Kamala go to college. I was shocked that the Ms. Marvel solos recently in the X-Men world had her in high school still. That's insane. Are you going to watch Wolverine and the X-Men? Yes. Right after this one. She's not in college yet. She wasn't in college as back as Ms. Marvel, the New Mutant. I don't know about now, to be fully honest. I feel like also no. She still wasn't in college at NYX, I don't think. Was she? Did she? No, she was. Right? Because she goes to campus and sees Prodigy, who's a professor. But I don't know if that's still the same excuse of like high school or taking college classes. How do you feel about Kamala being a mutant now? I think it's essential for her to stick around. I think the reason she was an Inhuman was because they were trying to push the Inhumans over the mutants, and they wanted her to have stories. And I think the reason she's a mutant is because they're trying to push the mutants over the Inhumans, and they want her to have stories. And I think at the end of the day, that's like this fact. As long as she continues to have stories, and she's had like 3 solos since becoming an X-Men, and just had an entire event around her, I think she's gonna be okay here. I don't know why, but I want to see Kamala use her stretch powers with like one finger to cosplay as a superhero. That'd be cute. Like just a really slight difference so that the measurements even out. Is Laura an adult or still a teen? I can't tell because she doesn't seem to go to school. She's definitely an adult now. Gabby is like the new little one. So X-23 Sabretooth now. I have got to read Age of Revelation. I don't know anything about it. It would be nice if both groups could just coexist. Teens and children? Hopefully. Oh, no. X-Men and Inhumans. Personally, I don't give a fuck about the Inhumans. That's my own X-Men bias. If they're your cup of tea, I'm happy for you, but also sad for you because I don't know if they're ever coming back. Didn't Cyclops regress into a teenager and had a relationship with somebody that was weird for me? Because he didn't end up progressing back to an adult. It wasn't he regressed. It was time travel. Someone brought teenage Scott into the present. And I don't remember if he got into a weird relationship, but he did serve on like the champions and stuff, and then they just sent him back into time. So it's not like our Scott was going up and down. It's just Scott from like 50 years ago, or 10 years ago in universe, came into the present for a second. All of Academy X people are like adults now, lol. Yeah, like I said, everyone gets to a vague 20. You hit a vague 20-something, and you just stay there. I can't believe that these lives do better than the TikTok ones, guys. I gotta say, there are 207 people in here. That's crazy. I love YouTube so much. YouTube also has officially sent me my plaque as well as what do you call it? I have another one somewhere. A little clapper, like click, click, clap, clap. I can't wait. Congrats, woohoo! Thank you very much. Thank you oh so much, guys. I'm so excited. It was exciting news to get after I accidentally spent $100 on a mouse that does not work with Mac. I gotta go later and try and return that. Like, actually, as soon as this ends in 5 minutes, I'm probably gonna post another TikTok, the Gambit clip from this video, and then I will, go try and return this $100 mouse that I don't need. Hope you can get your refund. Thank you. Me too. I hope they take pity on me. TikTok Live's been really choppy for me for years now. I used to watch a lot of them. Honestly, I don't watch them that much. I do my own. I watch my friends. Can we let Peter Parker be happy once? I feel like my take on that is like hotter than most people's. I feel like he needs to be sad. Not like destroyed. Like, I don't know if he needs to be eternally depressed, but I feel like he needs to have conflict. And the world people want for him is not going to be fun to read. What are your thoughts on Mayday Spider-Man's children going to the Xavier's Institute? Do you think it fits, or do you think it's odd because they're not mutant? I feel like Mayday should just be a mutant. This is what I like about Franklin being a mutant back when he was, is like I like the idea of major heroes having kids that are mutants. And I think that also fixes the whole like why don't they care about mutant rights thing? Like, I feel like that's you're in. I mean, Ultimate Spider-Man is fun to read. Ultimate Spider-Man is a different character. Like, Ultimate Spider-Man's not really Peter Parker. This is my issue with all alternate universes. Like, that's a guy who got powers when he was 30. That's a whole different ball of wax. Peter needs to suffer occasionally, but it should be consequence of his choices, not just constant things going out his way. That I agree with. I think he needs to constantly be in a state of having to choose between being Spider-Man and being Peter Parker. I think that's like the thing that is the most emblematic of his character to me. And I want to keep seeing that. However, I don't need the universe to just shit on him as much as it does. The Vague 20 thing is weird for the X-Men in particular because it's multiple classes from different generations. Yeah, the X-Men was kind of baked into time in a way that comics clearly aren't supposed to be. And we're still dealing with the ramifications of that. Even stuff like Magneto's origin. Like, the amount of X-Men characters that have historical origins is crazy. Storm is the Suez Canal crisis. Magneto's the Holocaust. Forge is Vietnam. And like, still Vietnam. Like, I don't think they changed him to Sean Kong or whatever the hell their fake one is. Charles is Korea. Like, they're all really tied to very specific things. Karma's is one that I forget. It was like an immigration crisis about Vietnam. Isn't Punisher originally a Vietnam vet? Yes, but they change his war all the time. And that's why they've made up a new fake one. What's the Suez Canal crisis? You can Google it if you want. I'm not a historian. I just know that it's a real thing that happened. And like, because Storm's origin is that a plane crashes into her house and she gets trapped in the rubble. That's why she has claustrophobia. And I've heard that it's a real, like, it's evoking a real time. I think Forge unofficially just don't think about which war this was. That's a lot of the X-Men. That's why people really didn't like Krakoa's like resurrection thing. And I was like, no, give all of the X-Men youthful new bodies so we never have to question this shit again. They all died. They all came back, and they're all fine. Forge is from Vietnam. It's okay. He looks 30. Adult Scott being best friends with the champions, a bunch of teenagers, is hilarious. That is very funny. I liked when he came to get them after Kamala's Law. That was really cute. Opinion of all new Wolverine starring Laura. I read the first 3 issues and I really liked it. Have you read any of the newest Spider-Man? As from what I've heard, it looks pretty good. No, but Spider-Man's got a Technarch fucking suit now. God, the X-Men are so back. I came up in like the dark days of the X-Men, you know, when Marvel was trying their best to push them to the side. It's crazy to see them being celebrated again in Spider-Man wearing a fucking Technarch suit. Anyway, I've got to go. We've been live for an hour. This has been very fun. We're going to try and do these on the Fridays after the videos. Thank you all for coming. Adios. I'm going to try and get a mouse that works.